So, Nick, do you think creativity is something that you're just naturally born with? Or do you think creativity is something that you build like a muscle?
At least just speaking from my experience, I felt like growing up, I just had some kind of artistic inheritance to me. Like growing up, I remember I would love sketching and being creative with listening to like certain creative music, like Radiohead, like when I was like in middle school, like just super out of the box. And then I think creativity just spun from that to taking pictures and video and stuff like that. Now, I do get inspired, and it is something you practice and you can grow on by like watching videos or flipping through a magazine, and you can kind of develop and craft your creativity. But I think I would say a lot of us, I would say, are born with it more than others.
Of all the people that I've met in the last few years, you're kind of like unapologetically yourself, you know? And I think a lot of people nowadays have this, they have this thing where they're like pushing themselves to try and be cool. Like they act like another person who's cool, but you're kind of just like you do what you do. You're always at the gym. You're always doing your video stuff. You do your motorcycle stuff. You go on these trips, but it's like, you're never not Nick. Every time I see you, you're Nick. So what's the value in just being yourself?
Yeah. It didn't start that way, honestly. Like when I first got into photo and video, I remember like creating some cool like video and photo name. And after a while, I was like, it's just me. Like when I think about artists and other, photographers, I seen that they were using their name, and that really inspired me. And once I took ownership of like, I'm Nick Amrhein, I'm an artist. This is my brand. This is who you're hiring. You're on it. You're hiring this person. I really stepped into that role and embraced it. On top of that, not trying to put on any facade, I think, the older you get, you just kind of are done trying to like schmoozy people, and you're just like, I am who I am, and I say what I say, and like you accept it, or you walk away from it, because at the end of the day, you can't please everybody, and you're always going to feel true to yourself and happier at the end of the day if you're being, your realest person, and everybody else is taken. So might as well be yourself.
Yeah, I feel that. And I feel the same way too. The older I get, the more people's like perceptions of who I am or how they think about me, I just don't care anymore. And it's not like an egotistical thing. It's just like I'm working on stuff all the time. I got my own workload. I got my own life. I got my own goals. And it's like, if they don't like it, who am I trying to impress? I've gotten past all that stuff from when I was a kid trying to be cool to my friends. I'm like, I feel like you more get close to people who are similar in interest and similar in drive and stuff as you grow older too, and you kind of just lose that. So I think that's important for younger people, man. Like they so want to be cool, like somebody online, and it's like the only way to be cool is to be you.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, definitely. I wish I could go back and say it to myself like younger on, you know what I mean? But you just embrace it now.
So one of the things, speaking of getting older, routine's huge to me. Like just making sure I'm staying in a routine to keep me on myself on track. Because when you get older, you realize nobody cares what you do. You have to be your own like accountability person. So what's like your non-negotiables in your day to day? Like I know you're always at the gym and stuff. So like what's from the time you get up to the time you go to bed? What are the non-negotiables?
As far as routine, dude, I'm like right there with you. Like I'm very routine and disciplined with what I do. It starts off the night before. I make sure I go to bed by like 8:00. Like sleep is super important to me. I think some people can go like 4 to 6 hours and like do that all the time. And like, I'm like, I need 8 hours, 100%. Like, cause I can feel it. If I don't have those 8 hours, I'm off. That would be the first non-negotiable. And then I got to have coffee in the morning. Like, I got to have coffee. I got to have coffee and I got to take a morning shit. You know what I mean? And
Two
then
non-negotiables.
Yeah. And then the last one I feel like is non-negotiable is fitness. Like I have to have, and it's not about trying to get strong or whatever. It's almost like a mental thing for me. Like I need that mental release, and like I just need to start my day off right, because then that sets you up for success. Do one thing right, and hopefully another will follow.
Yeah, the fitness thing wasn't a big part of my life until probably fairly recently, probably the last 6 years. And I think a lot of people just, especially here in the States, man, it's just like they don't take that seriously. And like, how much has your life changed since you dedicated to just a fitness routine, a simple fitness routine?
I mean, the appearance for one, you know what I mean? I got into it. So I'm 38. I got into it when I was like 25 hardcore and never looked back. But my appearance had really, at that point of my life, was kind of a little bit going downhill, you know, not much health wise. I couldn't tell because I was still young, but it was the appearance that bothered me. But then now as I'm getting older, I see the positivity for the mental aspect, letting out stress and then getting those positive endorphins. So that's, non-negotiable.
Yeah, and I think the way I think about it too, because a lot of the time, I don't necessarily want to go. And you and I both do CrossFit. That's how I met you. We met at the gym in Perrysburg, probably last year, and then we both started
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
It's been a while.
Was it only last year when you were sitting on that box and I had the steady cam? That was only last year.
Yeah, that was the
open longer ago, dude.
That was the open last year.
Wow, I feel like I've known you longer.
And it's the open this year coming up, like now. So
so probably almost a year.
Yeah. So then, whatever things happened, that gym closed down. We started going to Toledo CrossFit now, which I love. And, I think it's not necessarily that I want to go. I'd say majority of the time I don't want to go. I mean, I like interacting and like hanging out and talking shit with people and having fun and lifting. But like you, I'm more concerned with if I can just do this thing that I don't necessarily want to do, because it always sucks. That's the thing with CrossFit is like, that's I think why people like you and I are driven to it, because it's hard and it's a challenge every single day because it's never the same thing. And that's the industry we work in, film, video, podcast, whatever. It's hard. It's a different thing every day. And that's kind of like, for me, it's just a mental battle to like, if I can do this today, dude, it's a good day. I did it. I did the hard thing. And that's leads me to my next question. What value do you find in doing those hard things a little bit every day that you don't necessarily want to do? What value does that bring you long term? Because that's what this stuff is all long term stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. I don't know. I think part of it is like I'm super driven like around like military mindset. My two older brothers were in the military, so I was never able to serve because type 1 diabetes kicked in around 18 and it disqualified me. So having a part of that in my blood, like when I do CrossFit and I do hard things, I think of like the military and sucking it the fuck up, and just like having that mindset makes you just have a little bit more tougher skin, because life's going to fucking suck and it's going to kick you in the nuts. So when I do CrossFit workouts, I feel like it's just making me tougher. It's tougher like mentally, physically, and like kind of makes like when things happen in life, like you're like, dude, I'm used to doing hard things. Like this is just another thing. I'm not soft. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's just building that, those calluses on your hands and calluses for life really is what I think of it like.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think we're just naturally driven to that, because I've done like normal Globo gym fitness for probably a decade before I did CrossFit, and just like never really see the results. There's nobody, everybody's in their headphones and quiet, but you go to CrossFit and you don't show up and your buddy's like, where were you?
Yeah.
Where the fuck were you? And like, that's important, man. That's like, that's a big thing. And I think a lot of people appreciate that about that community. And speaking, fitness in general, I find that the older I get, the more discipline is important in a lot of aspects in life, because it's just, you can say all you want about the motivational bullshit and whatever they say online, but like just being disciplined, it's kind of like this checklist that you feel accomplished if you do that every day. So how big of a part for you as a full-time photographer, videographer, you don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have anybody telling you like, Nick, you got to get up and punch the clock. It's all you.
Right.
So how big of a part is discipline in that?
Yeah, you almost kind of just answered it for me by saying like correlating CrossFit, showing up, you have to show up on time. You're going to be there. You got to do the work, because like everybody will stand around and wait for you till you're done. So like the discipline of the fitness correlates to the business, because it's instilling like this, not laziness about it. You got to do the work. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm lucky enough where I don't know. I have like that discipline bone in me. I don't feel like I have to beat on it with business. Um, I don't know. Like, I just feel like if there's something needs to get done, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm responsible for my results. I'm responsible for how much income I want to, create. I'm responsible for how many jobs I want to take on or not take on. And I don't know. I don't think about it honestly that much when it comes to business. Now, I think about discipline a lot more when it comes to fitness because maybe it doesn't come as easy for me. Like I wasn't like some crazy athlete, but I've always had a camera as a kid. I've always created videos as a kid. I've always had clients. So that part's a little easier, but I know the discipline with fitness and having that does correlate into your business and just your life in general.
Yeah, well, that's I really some things come naturally because like for me it's the same way. The discipline of fitness doesn't come naturally to me. I did not as a kid. I didn't play sports. I never was like, I was just like a punk, man. I played death metal. I was just like a little asshole and I just never was good at listening to people. And and I just thought fitness was stupid and it's for like bros, but it really is something that is important for just keeping yourself in check, I think.
Yeah.
But going along those lines, a lot of people that I know, I don't want to say even a 50-50 split. It's just general. Some people start a business to make money. That's all they're in it. They don't even care about the industry they're in. They just see these markets and they buy and they own businesses in these things so they know they're profitable. And then I can't speak for you because you're your own person. But the reason I started doing like a video, social media management business and like all this kind of stuff, I do like cameras. I do like making documentaries and stuff. I do like doing that stuff, but I think it's more so an avenue of that personal freedom is more important than the money because there's money everywhere. You can pull money out of thin air if you're smart enough and resourceful enough.
Yeah.
But I just kind of get that vibe that it's like you also want to enjoy life. So is like business for you when you started your business, is it more of a means of like, I just want to start a business to be my own person, or is it I want to start a business to have this like freedom to do what I want to do on my terms? Because that's the only reason I'm interested in business, man.
Yeah, no, I love that, dude. I would say, let me think. So I went full time in 2010. I think I realized, okay, I'm working 40 hours or I'm working, a shitload of hours making money for somebody else. And like, I have no free time to shoot photos or go skateboard and film my friends. And then I slowly realized business wise kicked in a little bit where I'm like, okay, if I could book a shoot or a couple shoots, a week, I won't have to spend as nearly as much time working for somebody else. And I'll be able to do what I want. And I'll actually want to do it because it's a passion. So it was a mix of both. It was like thinking about money, like, okay, I could probably make some money and this would help me get by. But ultimately, it's the freedom of being your own person, being able to do what you love is what, really sparked that off.
So, I'm not yet full-time running my own business. I would say I'm probably 60% of the way there and I'm working really hard to get there. It's just like a big transition. I got a family and I got all this stuff to do. So like, I can't necessarily jump off the ship yet, but I'm working very hard at it. And one of the things that I've learned is, I have 2 YouTube channels that I make money with. And I love doing that. And I have, the social media management stuff I do for basically influencers and podcasters. I just make sure their ship keeps running, and managing their media for them, which is like, I don't hate that work. It's fun. It's easy. It's something for me, it's easy.
Yeah.
But I notice like with having podcasts and with having like somewhat of a, like I'm not a huge influencer or anything, obviously, but I have like this presence in those circles. And there's so much shit that people want you to do. Like, come to this conference, be in this. And I've had to learn to say no, which is hard naturally because you want to be involved. You want to do cool stuff all the time. But it's like at some point, it's either costing too much money, costing too much time. And you'll come back from a trip like after 2 weeks of being on the road, coming home, being back on the road for another week and going to this and flying here. And you're like, I'm just wiped.
Yeah.
So have you had to learn or I don't even know what's a way that you get better at saying no? Because it's really hard. You don't want to let people down, but you also have to be like, I can't do everything.
Yeah. I don't think I get like pulled too often for like things like you're describing, like where you're going to like maybe like conferences or pulled to fly things. I think I had the hard part of saying no to certain jobs early on. You know, when I first started, it was just like, if you want to pay me $50, I'll take it because I'm going to shoot your dog, your family, or whatever. But eventually I did get burnt out. You know, I had too many eggs. What do you say? Too many eggs in one basket or something like that. Yeah. I was like just too spread out. I was taking on way too much. And eventually it was just like, I got to start saying no because it's going to free up time to do the things that I should be focusing on. And if I put my focus into the things that I truly should be doing, that's only going to make me a better photographer or videographer. That's going to only let people see really what I like to shoot. You know, I still have sometimes a hard time saying no to people, and sometimes people press the buttons a little too much to try to really get me to do it, you know, and you know, I had to stop saying yes to like kids photography and weddings. You know, weddings is a hard one. People really get pigeonholed into that spot of shooting weddings because it's like a couple $1,000. But saying no to that and, you know, things like that. But ultimately, it's only made me better. So,
yeah. And so speaking of that, saying no to that stuff and kind of niching down to what you do now, which is more like commercial stuff. And then, you know, you have your passion projects, your documentaries and things that you do. What was that tipping point? I mean, you kind of touched on this already, but what was that tipping point where you're like, I need to go full time? Like, what was that thing that made you like, there's always like a little thing. Maybe it's like a boss pisses you off or something where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. What was that thing for you where you're like, I have to do this?
I mean, it was like almost like what I said with the 40 hours. I was working a 40-hour job. I was designing like t-shirts and stuff like that for like jerseys, and you know, they were a cool company to work for and stuff like that, but I just put two and two together. And at that point, I came back from California. I had been shooting and I started getting hit up. People were like, "Oh, you know, can I have you shoot this and shoot that?" And it was just like, man, if I can really put my attention into these people that are wanting to hire me, and I can really put out good work, I can walk away from this 40-hour job. Luckily, it wasn't anything that was like bad that happened. It just realized like, you know, now's the time. Like you've been like beating on your craft for so long since you were a kid. Like it's time to make like a name and brand around this and do it.
What are some really bad advice that you hear from people? Because the video industry and the photography industry is creative. So like in the creative world, there's no set way. It's not like when you go to a Jeep plant and it's like you have to put this bolt in this hole and that's your job for the whole day or something like that.
Okay.
There's a lot of really bad advice out there for videographers and stuff. Like some people be like, take every job that you can get. Like what's some bad advice that you would tell people to stay away from and get into this field? Because it is like a very, you can do anything. If you have a camera, you could shoot a wedding, or you could shoot someone's dog, or you could shoot a feature film, or you could like, it's all, the tool is for all of that stuff. But how do you say, like, what's some bad advice people have given you over the years where you're like, that was stupid, man. Like I would never listen to that advice.
Dude, I can't even think of any. I can only think on the contrary, where I could give advice.
What's some good advice?
Advice is like, as soon as you want to start getting into photography or video and you want to, you see yourself as a business, take your time to develop. Don't try to become this fucking CEO, hire me, I'm going to charge you this and all that. Like take your time and develop your skill, your portfolio, your style. And then also what I would recommend is really try to think about, hopefully that heat don't kick on.
That's all fine. It don't matter.
But really take the time and think about, what do I really like to shoot? Like, take away the money, man. Like, just think about, like, what do I like to shoot? What makes me happy? And that is really, like, what you should be focusing on, your niche, and really developing. You know, if I really went back and I had that earlier on, it would be skateboarding. You know, I would have focused all my attention into skateboarding, but I kind of got, like, sidetracked a little bit about trying to make money, you know what I mean? And, like, becoming this, like, business right away, you know? And it was like, you know, at the end of the day, if you can really focus in on your niche and focus on really what you will love, joy shooting, the money will follow because you're going to stand out for that specific niche.
Again, in the creative field, lots of warranted and unwarranted criticism. You know, I'll send you things every once in a while, be like, you know, what do you think of this? You know, and you'll give me honest advice, which I appreciate. And same with, you know, Mike and everybody that I trust in this world. I'll say like, what could I do better? Because for me, that's part of it, is like, I know there's things I suck at. I'm not a great graphic designer. I'm not a great, you know, like I can shoot and edit. That's what I'm good at. How do you deal with that like unwanted criticism? Because you get it, whether you want it or not, you get it.
Yeah, you just have to decide if you want to take it or leave it. If that person is valuable to you and what they bring to the table, then you should probably be open to it, you know. As long as it's constructive criticism, that's where you can be open to it, you know. If you're somebody I look up to and I think, you know, dang, you're successful. Dang, I like your work. Like, I'm open ears, you know what I mean? And you have to be open to that. You can't shell up and think you're just, you know, you got the best shit out there, because unfortunately, there's always going to be somebody better. And if you want to improve, you should always be willing to be open to constructive criticism to improve yourself.
If you just kind of shut out the unwanted criticism, like from people that you don't ask, because sometimes people will give you criticism and you don't even ask them, and you're like, whoa, A, I don't respect you and I don't care what you have to say. But like, it still kind of kicks you in the gut sometimes. How do you deal with that? Because that's a lot of things that I think people have a hard time with, is like, you're going to get it. If you get into any field, whether it's business, whether it's photography, video, working at McDonald's, you're going to have people telling you what they don't like about you, especially now with the internet too. It's like so much easier for someone to be like, F you, you're an asshole, I don't like you. You're like, I don't even know you, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it just goes back to like, I mean, try not to take it to heart, and just really think like, does this person's opinion really, like, is it important for you to really kind of take in? If not, you just try to ignore it, you know what I mean? And yeah, just keep moving along, because you can't please everybody, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's what I'd say.
Well, one of the best quotes I ever heard that I say to myself often, and I'm talking like daily, is like, I can get hot, you know, I can be like, dude, fuck this guy up. Like, I get mad because back in the day, dude, I was in a metal band, dude, we're fighting and shit. Like, it's just like, now that I'm older, I just can't do that anymore. It's just not a good part. But one of the best quotes I ever heard, it says, the best way to get revenge to someone that you don't like is to not be like them. And I'm like, that's a good way to be, man. That's like a good way to think about it. Cause like the best thing you can do is to not be like that to other people. And it's not always easy. Sometimes you want to talk some smack.
Yeah. You want to reflect what's being dished back at you. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So another thing that's in this world of like self-driven, self-directed work, and you know, you're kind of out on your own doing all the things you do, it's easy to get overwhelmed and lose some focus when you're like in the thick of it. You got like, say you got a bunch of jobs you're working on, you can just get kind of like overwhelmed. What's something you do that helps you get back on track? Because we all get there. We all get to the point where like, I'm just gonna lay in bed today, dude. I got nothing. I got no energy. So like, how do you combat that, or do you just take those days off sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll be like sitting in front of the computer and I'm editing or whatever, and I could just tell I've hit my max window, where like either it's like the back of my fucking head starts to hurt because I'm looking at the screen too long, or I'm just not enjoying it. I can't find a creative groove, and I'll just grab my shit and I'll roll out for the day. Like, I typically try to work like a normal lifestyle, like go to work. I try to work from like, 8 to 4, 9 to 5. But there's days where I'm just like, I'm out at like 2:00. Like, it's just not the day. You know what I mean? Like, it's overwhelming. There's too many emails. There's too many, like, too much things, or too many things are happening. Even shoots are overwhelming, man. Like, anytime I do a shoot, I'm like completely exhausted. Mm-hmm. I come back, I dump all the gear off, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I gotta like step away today,
I hate email more than anything in the world. I can't stand email. I'm not like, that's not my thing. Anything to do with like tracking my fucking business receipts makes me want to die. Any of that shit I hate. And I used to do that first because I was like, if I get this stuff done, then I'll just work on the stuff I like. And I actually now do the opposite. I do all the stuff that I enjoy and that takes my big mental energy, like video editing, all my creative stuff. Cause I feel like that creative energy gets sucked way faster than like, I can look at receipts anytime. That ain't a big deal. I can put my Excel spreadsheet with all my expenses and all that bullshit any time of the day. I want my video and I want my creative work, all my writing and stuff to be first thing in the morning, 7:30 a.m. to the first 3-4 hours of the day, 7 to 10, 11:30, lunchtime, whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys have been saying, like a lot of the big authors, I listen to the Daily Stoic a lot. It's like a really good podcast I like. He says the dude puts out like a book a year and he puts out a podcast every single day. He says, I only work 3 hours first thing in the morning. And then the rest is all just like management stuff. And he's like, I do all of my work for all these books and podcasts the first 3 hours every day. I've heard multiple people say that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have quite the luxury to only work for 3 hours, but I'll do my stuff first thing in the morning that I want to get done, my big stoked projects about, and then I'll do all the minutia later. That's why I go to the gym at night, because it's like, dude, I can go to the gym at night. I'll go whether I want to or not. That's just a part of my day, but I'll do all the hard work first thing in the morning, and then I'm like, when I start getting tired or worn out, go to the gym, kind of get like that second wind. But that's just something that's worked for me. So I didn't know if you had any thoughts on like everybody's routine is different, you know. But how does your morning go when you get to work? Like, what do you do first thing?
Yeah. I never thought about it as much as you, honestly. I
get in my own head too much.
I'm like bounce back and forth. Like, yeah, like sometimes if I'm motivated on a project, like, yeah, the first thing I want to do is like, I want to start working on that. You know what I mean? Because I'm excited. But most of the time I'm opening emails right away. I'm opening emails throughout the whole day. Like it's not, I just kind of edit a couple photos. Let me go to my emails, edit a couple photos, my emails. Oh, like maybe I'm going to work on a video and like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to work on this video from like 12 to 2. And then I'll open up an email. I'll try to see, I just kind of go with the flow and how I'm feeling, you know, but yeah, I'm an emailer. I don't mind emails. I mean, they are fucking work. You know what I mean? But for me, I like every day, like I want to be able to get through my email list. So if I got 5 of them in there, like you need to get through those, you know?
Well, yeah, no, everybody's different. It's just like for me, I've kind of found that groove because a lot of my stuff I do like for writing and stuff, I have to read these like boring ass books. And I do like some of these wildlife documentaries. I'm like, dude, I'm reading like textbooks about fucking like bison and shit. And I'm just like, dude. So like I can do that like after I get all my creative juices out of the way. Like I could read anytime.
But it is a good point though, because I have felt a lot of times more creative in the morning or like in the first part of the day. Like if I have to concept something for someone, like a video, and it's not just like a straightforward, like, oh, we're in an interview and edit and put B-roll. Like I need to literally like concept and come up with like some creative voiceover or whatever. Yeah, I'm going to do that early in the morning. And I'll switch up my different places. I can't do it in the same space. Yeah. Like as I edit, like I'll go to a coffee shop, maybe I'll find inspiration. I'll do it from home with like my laptop or I'll do it in the kitchen at the desk. But these different like environments somehow, you know, spark some kind of creativity maybe or something like that. It's weird.
In that regard, dude, I had to take social media off my phone. I had to get rid of it because it's like a scourge at this point. Like I don't have anything against it. Like people use it. It's whatever, stay in touch. But I just don't have the self-control with social media I had to take it off. Like I don't have it at all. Like I cannot check it on my phone. I can check it on my computer.
Okay.
But I can't. Like I'll just sit like, because I'm very much like very scatterbrained. So I will like sit there. And if say, you know how like with video stuff, sometimes a photo takes like 45 seconds to load or something. And you're just like, and then I'll just be like, oh, I'll check it. And then I'm like, I just spent 5 minutes on Instagram, dude.
Yeah,
like, so
I got caught in the matrix.
Yeah, I had to get rid of it. That's something that has really helped me out. I felt like I was like a recovering drug addict when I took it off my phone. I was like,
yeah, dude,
you're checking it and there's nothing there. And I'm like, what do I do? But it's been weeks now and I just feel so much better, dude. So
That's
much
good.
better.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's hard.
It is, dude. Fuck.
Is there any like things like quotes maybe or mantras or things that you have that you say to yourself? Because like it's easy to get frustrated and stuff, or there's like times where you don't have that motivation. Are there any like things you live by, or you're constantly like say to yourself in your head, like that one I just told you about, like, don't be like that. If you don't want to be like that, don't be like that.
Right.
Is there any stuff you have that like you like when you don't want to go to the gym, like don't be a bitch or something, like any little self-talk?
I think I'm more like with the motivation stuff when it comes to the gym. You know what I mean? Like even in a workout, if you work out pretty close to me, I talk to myself.
Oh, yeah.
I have like, especially when I'm lifting a heavy barbell. Like, I go through the motions of like, don't be a little fucking bitch. Suck it the fuck up. Come on, dude. Like, this is fucking light, dude. Lift this fucking shit. And so, like, some of those, like, that's not really quotes, but it's like shit that kind of inspires you and gets you moving. But with business, I mean, yeah, I don't really have quotes. Yeah, I don't really have things I say, I guess, or not when it comes to it. Just
No, it's not as much. I mean, with work, it's just like I just know I need to get it done.
Yeah.
But at the gym, I'm like you, man. If you stand next to me when I do the Olympic barbell stuff, I'll sit there and like sometimes I'll like it's complicated. Like those lifts are complicated. So say you like hit a snatch and you catch it weird. If you ever stand next to me, you'll hear me whispering next to me, like, you dumb fuck. I'll just be like so mad at myself.
The same
like,
way.
Stupid fucker.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Because
it's like nobody else is talking or says anything. I'm just like, I've got to the one where I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, I'm right there with you. Is there, do you have any weird habits or like unusual like hobbies or anything that you're into? Because we all got our weird like quirky shit we're into, especially like when you're in your own world and you kind of live by your own rules. Sometimes like we just have like things that we like to do that aren't common.
Okay, let me think. Fuck, dude, I don't know. I mean, there was for a while, like if I need to get super creative, I'll turn off the lights in my office. And like I would eat a bag of sunflower seeds. For some reason, it would help keep my attention span. And I'll do that even like when I watch a movie. Like if I really want to watch a movie, like I need to be eating like sunflower seeds or something, like a snack. Like I think some people do that too, but like usually it's popcorn, or whatever. But my weird quirks, I'm like super OCD a little bit, like with my like mainly like my apartment and some of my stuff. Like everything in my apartment has a place, and like I won't leave until everything's in its place. Like the bed's made, everything is like literally in its place. For some reason, the OCD and also minimalist help me feel less stress. Like I really believe the principle of like the less we have, the less stress we'll have. So I try to practice that. Some people were like, well, you are like pretty OCD and clean. So like I would think of like that would be like a weird quirk of mine. Yeah.
Dude, I'm the opposite. Everything is chaos. I just live in a state of chaos. you would have a meltdown. No, don't. Yeah. So no, I don't know. That's just like my brain is just like it's an externalization of my brain. It's just like,
yeah. No, some people are like that. It's like, think about like law offices or, they got all those papers and all those client paperwork like that, like, oh, that almost like makes me trip out. But I think I don't know about you. Like I grew up like, I love my mom, but like our house was kind of chaotic. I think my mom, like, I love you, Mom, if you ever watch this, but you're kind of like, she's kind of hoarder a little bit. She has too much shit. 3 purses, 15 baskets of this, bunch of Tupperware, too many cups and plates. Like, and I think growing up in that, I think now it's almost like a reverse thing on me where I'm like, like I don't want that. So maybe your parents were like OCD and it was like, can't sit on the couch unless like this plastic's on the couch or something. And maybe now you're just like, fuck it, I want my laundry everywhere.
Yeah, I'm throw shit wherever I want. Nobody can tell me what to do. I think you're onto something, man. I didn't know I was coming to psychology or a psychologist today. Is there any like big decision you made that kind of changed the trajectory of your life? Whether when you were a kid, whether you were an adult, both and all of the above?
Yeah, 100%. I've said it many times, and I feel like it's my life story of like really shaped me who I am. Basically, after high school, I became type 1 diabetic and nearly took my life by like within an hour. My buddy rushed me to the hospital. I was vomiting everywhere. My blood sugar was like over 1,000. And like I had blacked out, and it was just like I woke up and they were like, you're type 1 diabetic, and if your buddy never brought you here, you would be dead. And then at that point, like I already had started becoming curious about moving away. I knew like photography and video, like it really wasn't around here. And I had this curiosity, like I needed to go somewhere. And one of the main spots was just California. And it wasn't just because photography and video, but that's where skateboarding is. So when I found out that I almost just died, I was like, fuck waiting around for some shit to happen. I packed up my Honda Civic with like $1,200. It had 200,000 miles on it. The bumper was hanging. I packed all my shit in there and I rolled the fuck out. And I lived out in California for 3 years, slept on couches. I mean, my first place I had, like, it was like three of us living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I didn't have a bed. Like, I had a pillow and like a blanket for like a long ass time. If I needed internet, like, I'd have to drive down and like somehow get it from like Starbucks because we couldn't afford the fucking internet. But what I'm saying is like that pivotal moment really shaped me into growing up real quick. And then also just like owning up for like my life. Like, how do I want this to go? Like my life was just almost over. Now I'm going to like fucking do something with it. And it really excelled me. And it really shaped me those pivotal years being in LA, being around that big city. I eventually like started assisting a big time photographer, Kevin O, who's an amazing photographer, and learning about lighting and how to work on set and what's like a shot list looks like. And then it led to like, being an intern at an agency and being around creative people, and all those different experiences really helped early on and really sped up me becoming who I am today.
So if you could go back to that kid, that little punk Nick, what's some advice you would give your young self when you were just a little jerk,
like before the California, or like just younger?
Anything, because we've all, I mean, dude, being a teenager, I was playing 18. I was traveling over the country playing death metal. I did so much dumb shit. That's so amazing, glad they didn't have social media like they have now, because I would be canceled. I would be banned for life. Like we did some wild shit. So like, I'm assuming we've all done that, especially, you're a skater. Skaters aren't necessarily known for being like, cool all the time. So what, like, is there any advice you'd go back and be like, hey bro, like maybe you shouldn't have done some of this wild shit you did?
Yeah.
You don't have to give away any secrets here. But.
Yeah. If I could go back and say anything to my younger self, I mean, yeah, just like, I went through like a little punk phase too, where it's just like in a little bit like almost like end of high school, like you just start to become this adult and you just like think that you're fucking invisible, you know what I mean? And you kind of do things without fucking having a head on your shoulders. And I feel bad, like my mom had to go through some of that. And like, luckily I fucking had that little phase and I was out of it, because like, yeah, I was like getting close to getting in trouble and just like drinking and being around people and drinking and driving and going to parties and being around like people dealing with drugs. And like, I could easily slip left or right real quick. And, I got in the mix of some bad situations, but like I said, like I got out of it and my head was like pretty clear from there on. But I think part of just being a young kid, you just you start to grow up, and sometimes people grow up too quick and they just gotta remember to like slow it down, pump the brakes in, like keep your shit together,
Yeah. Time is a valuable asset. And I think everybody wants to do everything so fast, but it's a lot of the stuff that I've learned, the best lessons I've learned come from like slowing down and thinking. Just stop and think. If something ain't going your way, you don't have to keep pushing your head against the fucking wall. You can just stop and be like, oh, there's a door over there. I don't have to bash my head into the wall. And like, not everything's so concrete. Everything is like flexible if you allow it to be. And that's like something that I'm starting to learn now, even like, dude, you don't have to be so hard on everything all the time. Mm-hmm. You can just like, that's your opinion. Cool. Mm-hmm. Deal with it later. Like, I'm going to go do me over here, and that's totally fine. So yeah, that's important. So, what is like, and this can be anything. This could be a piece of equipment. This could be something you like, a vacation. This could be anything, anywhere, anytime. What's one of the best investments that you've made in yourself, hands down, in your life, like for you? Could be an ongoing thing. It could be like, I bought this FX3 and it's the best thing I ever bought, or my car, or just taking this time off 3 times a year to go screw off.
Yeah. I'll just hit on two of those things from like a small thing gear perspective. Yeah, like buying the FX3. I mean, I never had a cinema camera, and that thing like made my life like so much easier. You know, really buying certain pieces of gear that actually really do help the way you shoot and create is kind of a big deal. You know, I'm not a big gear person. Like, you give me a camera, I'll probably stick with it until like ever, and until something happens where I'm like, oh, there's an easier way. All right. But yeah, the FX3, like, that camera is amazing. I picked that up because I got to shoot like a TV show, and I was like, man, I can't have my camera really overheat. Oh, I need the camera to keep rolling without shutting off. Man, like, I need a camera that has like easier buttons to use really quick. So that one, that's helped my, on a gear perspective, helped me out quite a bit. And then, I mean, I'm so grateful for like technology, because like I do a lot of photography with strobes. Like, I barely shoot anything natural light. And a game changer for me, the first thing was, I remember all my strobes became battery packed. Like, I could put battery power packs on them. You know what I mean? Like, there was no more like cords. I remember just shooting photography for so long where I had to like plug this one in, run an extension cord to this. Like, my life became so simple when I was like, oh, I can actually have a wireless, you know, flash. That was a game changer. So that's the gear. And then on the other side of things, as far as like being a business person, right? And you're getting into doing this for yourself, there's a long road ahead, and you're going to be doing this for a long time. And I would say probably from my whole 20s, all I did was this. Like, my life kind of went on the back burner because I put my business first. Every single day I'd work, morning to night. Like, I could barely have a relationship. I mean, I barely can have a relationship today because I'm still so devoted to my craft. But almost when I hit 30, I finally learned, like, start taking weekends off. Like, try to be a fucking normal human being. And then it was like, now I really like embrace more than other people is just taking my own time. You know, if it's planning a motorcycle trip where I literally, it's like almost like, it feels like when I go on a motorcycle trip, it probably feels like deleting your social media. That's what it feels like. It's like going down to bare essentials and just like being with yourself, not being distracted by the world. And that's the same thing with like vacations. Like, I'm trying to take one like this year I was like, it used to be like once a year. Then it was like twice a year. Now I'm like, I want to do one like every 4 months. 3 vacations, like, what is that, 3 weeks to myself in a year? That's fucking nothing. Like, it's crazy. And like, I get it. Everybody can't have the privilege of that because like you have certain income you got to make. You got a family, you got kids, you got obligations. I'm luckily in a situation where I just have to handle my own shit. You know what I mean? It's just me. That's it. So my life is maybe a little easier than others, but I would say that still value your own time. It is a long road, but you also don't know how long you're going to be here for. So do take those trips and do take that time to yourself and like appreciate and treat yourself too, because it's going to help your mental side of things. It's going to help your business. It's going to help your relationships. Maybe you're married. You and your wife need to go take a vacation, and you don't always have to fucking grind and hustle. Like, it's okay to like take that time to yourself. So those are my two things, I would say.
No, so this is something that, you know, I didn't, you know, realize till later. Do you think that times when people are young though, do you think that time's necessary to like build yourself and your confidence to like, I remember when I got my first camera and stuff, dude, I bought a camera and I had a local TV show here in Toledo for a while. That's all I would do. It's all I would think about. I was obsessed. I would go out and shoot every single day.
Right.
And for me, it's almost necessary when you start out to like have that.
Right.
Because you learn to be accountable and you learn to do stuff and you also get better. But as you're more confident in your ability and as you kind of get, you know, more confident in yourself, I think that's when you can kind of step back. I think that's what a lot of people do when they get in their 30s. They're like, yo, I'm about to burn out. I need to take a step back and chill. So you think that's necessary though, as like when you're young to just
You're 100% right. You're right. Yeah. You got to beat on that craft earlier. Cause like you got to grow. Like, you don't have those paychecks rolling in yet. You don't have all those clients yet. Like, you got to hustle and you got to make a name and brand. But I guess at the same time, just be conscious of it too, where maybe it's impacting your life around you. You know what I mean?
Do you have anything before we wrap up here you want to leave people with, a little nugget of advice from Nick himself about, you know, life, about the future, about anything?
Man, I don't know. Just like, if you're a photographer, videographer, creative, just, really take that time to look in on yourself and think about what makes you happy to shoot, you know, and find that niche and go after that. Really don't do it for the money, man, because if you do it for the money, it's going to be for the wrong reason. So find your passion and the pay will follow.
Cool. And where can people, you know, hire you to come do their commercial photography?
Well, my last name is super hard to say and spell, but it's nickamrhein.com is my website.
Yeah, the H and the R always screw me up. I was typing it online and I'm like, HRRH.
I'm sure you can put it in a description or something.
It'll find it. No, I'll put that all in the show notes and everything. And thanks, Nick, man. It's been awesome to talk with you. And
yeah, Paul, I love it, brother.
We're gonna have Nick and I are doing a freaking 1,000-pound club thing here in a few weeks. We're gonna try and do the squat, bench, deadlift, hit the 1,000.
Love it. Combine weights and our cameras, like our passions together. It'll be sick, bro.
That's a wrap.
Cut.